Hi, everyone. In this video, I am joined by image analyst consultant Cate Linden, who is a dear colleague. We are both personal color analysts, and we've been together on the podcast, Chrysalis Color Analysis podcast. You've been a guest there, but I kind of thought it was really nice to have Cate for myself for a little bit and ask her some questions. And so we agreed that we would have this informal chat. So welcome, Cate.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you. I know we always chat about like our capsule wardrobes, and I think we have a very similar approach to, kind of life, but also like our closets. And so that's something that we've really bonded over, for many years, not just on the podcast.
Yep.
So I'm like really excited to just chat with you.
Me too. So let's get started. We had this idea that we would record a chat, just an informal chat, because for me, it's because I do refer a lot of people to you, Cate, because you are what do you call it? A body image, but image.
I use different names for it. I'll say image consultant, style coach. I feel like I call it all kinds of different things. But usually I'll say image consultant or personal stylist, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And those are all things that I'm not certified in. So I think it's really, really nice that I'm able to refer them to you. And I do like your newsletter a lot. It's one of the ones that I read with great joy, and I hope people will sign up for your newsletter as well. Anyway, so we talked back and forth, and we came up with different questions. And I first had some questions I really wanted to ask you, and then you came up with some questions. So I think now we'll just go through those questions and chat about them. And the question that I came up with first for you is that since you are what you say, you're an image analysis consultant, what I would like you to say a little bit about is what is your approach to making your own capsule wardrobe? Because I assume since you're advising people on it, you have some thoughts about how you do it yourself.
I do. Yeah. So, most of our theme today is actually about capsule wardrobes because we both love having smaller wardrobes. And it's something I feel like we've connected about for years. So for me, I'm not super stringent about my own capsule wardrobe. Like I've done in the past, some of the capsules where you count everything and you have like, specific numbers of each type of thing. And I've experimented with that to see how I liked it. But, these days I'm not really, really particular about how many numbers of things I have. It's kind of like there's a point where I'm like, okay, I have too much clothing and I'm not actually wearing it. I need to like get rid of some stuff. So for me, it's like less about the numbers and more about, having enough variety where I can kind of mix and match and I can get dressed for different types of situations and weather. Like I do live in an area that has 4 seasons. So I need clothes for when it's really hot and then clothes for when it's like, reasonably cold, not as cold as where you live. So I have like a reasonable number of clothing. And then, where I do get a little bit less capsule-y is with jewelry. I do have a lot of earrings. I love jewelry, but it's small. I try to keep it in its own container. And then my main thing with my capsule wardrobe is just that for me, the main benefit is that I love everything that I have. I don't want to have filler clothing. Like I don't want to have clothes that I have just because, somebody told me I should have, this type of jacket, or like I don't even within my season, I don't pressure myself to have like all the colors. Like if I don't like a certain color in my season that much, I'm not going to buy it just because like I should have the rainbow or something like that. So for me, I think finding a lot of joy in my stuff is like really kind of the sweet spot of the capsule wardrobe. It's not about like the number of items. I do need to have enough clothing where I feel like I can get dressed and not feel totally, like I'm wearing the exact same thing every day, but I like to be able to mix and match the things that I have. And I think that working with a particular color season kind of does a lot of that work for you, because it all will naturally kind of go together. But for me, I just really like to love what I have. And so for me, that means there is a lot of bright color. There are kind of like fun details, like a big sleeve, like the sweater has like really big sleeves, like it's like being in a marshmallow. I love it. So for me, it's really about having fun with it, and not about ticking off my boxes of like, which are my 5 tops. And even within the capsule wardrobe, I find it funny that I still wear a small amount of clothing. Like, no matter how small the amount of clothing I have is, I still will just gravitate toward the pieces that I like the best. So eventually, I'll be like, I don't like this yellow sweater because my daughter told me it looks like shredded cheese. So I'm done with it. I'm going to let it go. And it's funny because having a smaller wardrobe, I think, lets me kind of feel like I can wear the pieces I like the best instead of like saving them as much.
Yes. Well, that sounds really interesting. And I'm kind of the same way. I've moved, I did the project 333, and I was kind of with my minimalist soul, I really like having the set number, but I'm in my heart now, I'm moving more away from that. How I do the wardrobe philosophy, the Nordic simplicity wardrobe philosophy is to have like a core of very basic items that you really love and that you really spend some cash on, so that they will be really good quality in colors that are in your range of solid neutrals that will last for a long time, no trend colors. And you have those items, and they are a base that you work from, and then you can play with other things and have more or less of other things too. So kind of the capsule, well, the word capsule is very narrow, contained, isn't it? I'm kind of thinking of core is a better word, because a core is something that something grows out from. Instead of a capsule is something that
like a root wardrobe of a plant, where it can come out.
That's a great image, and I prefer that, because kind of my inner 2-year-old rebels against being contained. And I think it we don't want to stifle creativity. And it's interesting how you said the one you said about your jewelry. I think everybody should have their passion area where you can just have so many of it. It's your thing, and and that's okay. You don't have to feel like you have to cull your jewelry because you love it and it gives you joy.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was working with like project like 333 and stuff, I would just ignore the section about jewelry where she's like, oh, your jewelry. I was just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. I did look at my jewelry, and I asked myself, is there anything I'm really not wearing? Is there anything that I really don't like? Because sometimes I'll acquire things that I think I'm going to like, and then I don't like them. So I think part of like the capsule wardrobe for me is like just routinely kind of letting go of things that I'm not wearing, or things that maybe they don't really fit as well as I thought they were going to, or they don't really go with my other clothes as well as I thought they were going to. And even with jewelry, I do that, but I think that the jewelry for me definitely allows me to be happier with fewer like actual clothing pieces, because I can really like mix and match them. So that it feels like a new outfit, even if it's really the same jeans and sweater, but it's like, well, I'm going to wear these different earrings with it.
Yeah, I agree. So on to the next question. Did you have a question for me?
I do, yeah. Mine is, what would you suggest to those who love the idea of a capsule wardrobe, but aren't always a consistent size due to weight fluctuations?
I think that is a really, really good question. And I think a lot of people are struggling with it. And it might keep somebody from diving into getting a smaller wardrobe. I think there are two sides to this. I think if you are planning on losing a lot of weight and you're on your way to a different kind of body for health reasons or whatever, I think you really need to be able to enjoy the body that you have at the moment. So I don't think that should stop you from creating a base wardrobe. And then you can donate or do something with the rest. And because there aren't so many, it won't feel so bad. And also, I know there are people, or me also, you're one weight in the winter and then in the summertime, so that people fluctuate between seasons, or maybe you're planning a family and you're going to be pregnant and then you're going to go back. I think that the idea of boxing away things that you're not using is perfect for this, because you can do your higher weight box and have it away, and then you can dive into it when your weight reaches that particular number.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think it has to be like your capsule, everything in it has to be in your closet, like at all times, and all the clothing you own has to like be in your capsule. Like I think there can be like a rotating capsule. Like I think sometimes people hear capsule wardrobe and they think I have to donate literally everything that isn't going in my capsule. But you know, people don't do that seasonally. Like people have their winter clothes, they have their summer clothes. So I'm like in full favor of, you know, rotating clothes, like having a box. You know, maybe you shouldn't have like 50 plastic totes in your garage, you know, of clothing. But, you know, if you are somebody who fluctuates in weight, and I am, you know, I've fluctuated in weight a lot over the past several years, I do keep certain things that I really like. I might not store the things that I didn't end up liking or wearing that much, but you know, if I really liked it, I'm going to save it and see, you know, am I going to want to wear this again or not?
Mm-hmm. I agree completely, because the idea of boxing things away, not 50 boxes, very well put, but to me, sometimes I'm tired of something and I retire it to a box, and then the next time I pull it out, I'm falling in love with the item again, or I'll say, oh yeah, well, that one has to go, because when you've had a break from it, you can more clearly see, you know, that, oh, it did look a little ratty in the edges and it really should be retired, or, you know, for some reason you didn't like it. I think that's one of the brilliant things about using the boxes.
Yeah, and I think like for stuff, you know, I've boxed stuff up before that I feel kind of attached to. And I'm like, you know, maybe I should get rid of this, but like I'm too emotionally attached to it. But I find after it's been boxed up for a little bit, that attachment does kind of wane. Like I see it again and I'm like, why did I keep this? Like I didn't need to keep this. And then like one kind of unusual tip I have for people who do fluctuate in weight a lot and maybe don't want to maintain like a bunch of kind of rotating clothing is when you're buying clothing to kind of think about like where you tend to gain and lose weight. Like some people will kind of gain and lose like in the upper arms a lot. Some people it's like mostly the belly. And like maybe buy clothes that accommodate for that. Maybe it has like a slightly stretchy sleeve or like a slightly oversized sleeve so that you can kind of wear your clothes like at different weights more easily, you know, or if you tend to mostly gain in the hip, like maybe finding pants that have a little more stretch in the material. They don't necessarily have to be like yoga pants, but something like, you know, jeans with like a tensile blend or something like that, so that you can wear your clothes a little bit longer. You know, obviously if you have like a drastic weight change, you might not be able to, but like for those smaller, you know, weight fluctuations, then you can kind of keep stuff in your capsule for longer without having to box it up. And that's kind of worked really well for me over the years, to just buy pieces somewhat judiciously, stuff that can be stretchy.
In the right places.
Mm-hmm.
That's super. I that's a really great tip. Very, very good tip. So my next question for you, well, you and I both like the idea of wearing our favorite clothes every day, and that's kind of my first and foremost reason for why I like to have a small wardrobe, because I get to wear everything is my favorite. But it's kind of a thing that it is ingrained in us to not wear the special stuff every day, because we tend to have this differentiation between special stuff and everyday stuff. So what is it in our minds that make us save our favorites and instead wear those other ones, the ones that don't really thrill us? Do you have thoughts about that?
I have no answers, but I have thoughts. I think about this a lot, actually, because throughout my life, I've found myself doing this with other items too, not just clothes, but like you open your mug cabinet and you like reach for the one that you don't actually like as much, or you like reach for the wine glass that you don't like as much. I don't know why. I think it's like this, people talk about it like using the good china, stuff like that. My solution has just been to get rid of the things I don't like as much so that I have to use the favorites. Like I'm forced to use them. I don't know. I think it's like this weird feeling of like, I'm saving this for like a really great day, or a day when I like, I'm doing something special. And I know there's been this like trend on, I think especially TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but some of it filters to like YouTube and Instagram, of like romanticizing your life. And I really like this concept of like wearing the things that you really enjoy, like using the mug that you like the best, just making your life feel more romantic, like to you. And so that's been like kind of a helpful framework for me to look at it with. It feels kind of like literary and fancy, so I like it. But I don't know, because I've often questioned this when I'm in my closet and I'm like, what am I going to wear today? And I'll see like the item that I really like and I really want to wear, and then I'll just reach for something else instead. I don't know why. It's like, oh, I'm going to save that for, it's like you can't do laundry. It's like laundry doesn't exist in this scenario. For me, the best solution has just been to let go of the things that I find myself wearing but not feeling good in. What about you? What do you do?
I don't know. I think it's a mindset. For me, it's like, do I deserve that? Maybe I'm not worthy. That's one silly feeling, which I think can underlie a lot of the things. And in the past, I've been thinking, oh, that was so expensive, I should save that. I'll use the cheap things instead, the cheap t-shirt. But like you, now that I've gotten rid of the stuff, then it doesn't really matter. I think that's a really good good philosophy to just kind of get rid of the ones that aren't favorites, and then you will use it.
Do you find that you worry about things wearing out? Like, do you worry that if you wear your favorites, they're going to like,
Yeah,
disintegrate and you won't have them anymore?
I know. Yes, I do. I have one pair of black jeans, and now they're not black anymore because
Oh no.
I've used them and used them. But they look kind of nice. They look kind of vintage, and they have, how do you say it in English? Patina. They have
Mm-hmm.
it's so they are kind of nice, but they're not pitch black anymore. And I've been, guilty of thinking, oh, I should have saved them, but then no. I do like, they fit like a dream, and they're a little bit stretchy, so they can take my winter weight and my summer weight beautifully. And I think a lot of the work we have to do with this is in our minds, to really think that we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And the romanticizing, I like that idea. That's a good frame set that you mentioned. This thing about, I have a favorite teacup that isn't a mug, it has a saucer, and it makes a sound when I put the teacup on the saucer.
Oh, I love that.
Don't you love it? It's super. And that makes me feel special. It's very thin porcelain, and that makes my cup of tea, my tea moment, be even more special. And so why shouldn't our clothes be the same way? But it's a thing, and I think we just have to kind of think about it and change our mindset that we do deserve it. We do deserve those, to wear our favorites every day.
Yeah, I've been really guilty of it. I've over time kind of tried to like catch myself in those moments and ask like, well, why am I not reaching for, this thing? Like this sweater, for example, I actually bought like right after my redrape, and I did not actually wear it until like 3 weeks ago. Like for some reason, I just had it in my closet, and I would look at it and I'd be like, ooh, that pink sweater that I love. But like I just didn't wear it. I have no idea why. Even now I'm guilty of this. And finally, I one day was like, why am I doing this? Just cut the tag off and wear it. I think like the fact that I left the tag on it in the first place made me like even more reluctant to like pull it out. And I think sometimes I've noticed that I will like wait for that day when like I feel like my skin looks perfect. Like I have no breakouts. It's like perfect and glowy, and my hair just did everything perfectly that it should have done. And like, everything is perfect, and it's gonna like, do justice to this piece that I really like. And it's so silly, and I find myself doing that where like if I have my hair in like a like a ponytail, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to wear that because like my hair doesn't look nice enough like for that, that sweater or whatever. And I don't have clothes that I just like genuinely don't like I tend to get rid of those pieces quickly. So it's not like I end up wearing something completely ratty, but I do kind of like gatekeep myself sometimes from like those pieces that I like the most, because I feel like, oh, like I'm not done up enough, or I haven't like, found the perfect skincare routine. And it is silly. Like when I say it out loud, I'm recognizing like this is very silly, but I think it's helpful to kind of talk about like it really is like a mindset thing. It's not that you can't wear your favorite clothes any day of the week. And a capsule, I think, helps me to do that. It helps me to really like narrow down what I like, and also to recognize that I'm always going to find more pieces that I'd like. If something does wear out, there will always be something else that I can find. It might not be the same, but I'll find something, and I'm sure I'll love it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, I'm sure this has happened to you. It's happened to me when I've written a big piece and then something happens and it's deleted or something.
Mm-hmm.
First, I'm completely at a loss, and then I rewrite it, and 9 out of 10 times it turns out being better. So maybe it's the same with clothing, that when that favorite piece gets worn out, you will get something that's even more stylish and more up to date. I wouldn't say trendy, but current, and that it's. Mm.
I love that analogy. Yeah, I've had this tragic experience many times, and I think like when you have to rewrite something, you kind of like distill those good points that you made, and it just kind of cuts out all your filler, like figuring out what you're actually trying to write about. And I can definitely see that being the case with clothing, where it just ends up being like the more like evolved version of that item.
That's a super expression, the evolved. So my black jeans will be the black jeans 2.0 when I get new ones. Because I will. And I so appreciate you being so honest, because it's really, I look up to you, and to hear that you're also struggling with these same things. It kind of gives us all comfort and hope, doesn't it? That we're in the same boat and we're struggling with the same feelings, and we need to work on them, all of us.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I think, people think color analysts or image consultants or, whatever kind of like professional in any field, that they don't struggle with things, but I definitely do. I have days where I'm like, my skin looks terrible and I don't want to leave the house, or like, I've struggled with like hormonal acne like throughout my kind of adult life. And so that's something where, sometimes I'll have clients who, especially for color analysis, since they can't wear makeup, they'll sit down and they're just like, oh, my skin looks so bad. I'm so sorry, my skin looks bad. And I'm like, listen, my skin looks bad half the time. Like, trust me, like it's something that I notice so much less on other people. Like a lot of the time when somebody says this to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, your skin looks fine. But for myself, like I can see how sometimes I'm like looking in the mirror, like freaking out about something really small. And I think people don't notice the things that we notice about ourselves that we worry about. Like nobody else is going to notice if my hair's in a ponytail and I'm wearing my favorite sweater, like things like
No,
that.
true.
Like nobody can tell. So yeah, I think it's definitely something I struggle with too, trying to save the good clothing and all that kind of stuff. So I have a question for you, which is kind of a multi-question question. And it is like, what is your reason why, you know, that you like having a smaller selection of clothing? And like, what really motivates you to stay out of the stores? But also, like, how do you know when it is time to introduce something new to your wardrobe?
Well, that's a lot of questions. Let's start with the first one.
Yeah, I can take them one by
The
one.
why. The why. So there, why? If I'm going to, sound really nice, I would say it's because I should be sustainable and take care of the environment, because it's the only sustainable clothing is the clothing that you wear for a long time and don't have to buy things. But to be honest, the real reason is because it's so easy. It's so easy. I have fewer things to choose between, and I just grab whatever is clean, and it works really beautifully together, and I don't have to think a lot about it. And I have so much more important stuff to do with my time than to think about what to wear and how to put it together. So that's the selfish reason. Yes, and so what motivates me to stay out of the stores? The fact that they are stores. To be honest, I'm really not a shopping person. So I do like to, well, if we include online shopping, I really like to do that. And luckily I get to do a lot of browsing in the stores for clients and for doing my online courses and writing the blog posts. But to buy something for myself, what motivates me is that I'm really happy with what I have. So I don't need to, I guess. What was the third one? How do I know when it is time?
Yeah, how do you know when it is time?
Well, sometimes I get sick of, I don't like to have a lot of color. And I've been having this winter, or every winter, I've been having black, gray, and red. I've worn a lot of red. And recently I thought, I should branch out and start using another color. So I'm now exploring blue. So that's something. And then, and of course, when something looks ratty and needs to be replaced, I guess. What about you? What's your why? I want to hear that.
Honestly, I just get really overwhelmed if I have too much stuff, you know, in life, not just in my wardrobe, but I'm just somebody who has a really low tolerance for like, you know, especially like visual clutter, but like just like stuff, you know, there's like a point where I'm just like, I want to run away, like in my car. Like, you know, I just want to take like my essentials and like get out of here, because it's like very like overstimulating for me. And I feel that way with clothing. Like if I just have too much, it's like I become less creative because my brain just like shorts out and I'm like, well, I don't even know what to wear. So I'm going to grab this thing that, you know, I've been wearing like once or maybe even twice a week for like 3 weeks because it's easy, you know. So I'm just somebody who gets really overwhelmed like with too much stuff. You know, if I have too many mugs in the cabinet, I get overwhelmed. If I have like too many, you know, things on the wall, like I get overwhelmed. You wouldn't know it from looking behind me, but there's like a point where I'm like, this is too much for me. Like this is like too much.
Sensory overload.
Yeah, so like for me, you know, I'm kind of like sort of like a minimalist who wants to be a maximalist. There's like this like kind of like fight, you know, where it's like I do really like things that are you know, kind of beautiful and like interesting, but there's like a point where it becomes too much. And like in my closet, one of the ways I kind of combat that is by having, you know, the pieces that I have like really do their job. They're very colorful and they're like very interesting, but there just aren't that many of them overall. So I can kind of go in there and think, you know, I can easily pair this and this with like this earring or something like that. And I also actually don't really like to shop very much. I really don't like to go to an actual store. To me, it's like very unpleasant. It's just, it's such a pain. Like it takes forever. Half the time you don't find anything. Um, you can only bring a certain number of things into the changing room. Like I just personally don't really enjoy it. Like online shopping is a little easier, but even that, I kind of like shopping when I'm not looking for a specific thing. If I'm just kind of, if I stumble across something that I like, I can buy it. But if I'm having to shop for a specific type of clothing, for me, that's very like tedious. Like I don't like looking for, you know, a party dress. I don't like looking for a pair of shoes to work with that party dress. Like I just want to kind of magically stumble across things that I like. So that for me is also a huge motivator to not shop. It's just that I don't really enjoy it that much, except for jewelry. That's different. But like, shopping for jeans like brings no pleasure to my life, like whatsoever. And then with bringing new stuff in, a lot of the time it's just kind of a feeling. I'm like, okay, I would like to have, this type of item. Like often it's when I've kind of identified like a need in my closet. Like I've had the thought multiple times, oh, I would really love a pair of like sneakers like this to go with this type of clothing. Where like multiple times as I'm getting dressed, like I have this thought, and then it's kind of more of something that I can tell would like add value to my wardrobe instead of like, me just randomly scrolling through like a website looking for something. And sometimes it's just like need based. Like I got rid of something, like you said, that was like a little ratty and it needs to be replaced. But a lot of the time it's that like identification of a need or desire for something to go with the stuff that I already have. If that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Yeah. So moving on from that, I would like to know, I'm sure you have days like that you feel like sick and tired of what you have in your closet. And if we say, okay, you're not allowed to go out shopping, what's your strategy? What do you do?
Actually, my main thing is I pull out the thing that I've been gatekeeping myself from wearing. Like I will get sick of the things that I've been wearing, and then I'm like, it's time to cut the tags off that pink sweater that you've been hoarding for like, almost a year now, things like that. So that's like a big one, is to like wear the favorite things that can help like kind of jolt me out of my boredom, or like to pair something just a little differently. Like if I have like a dress and I put like a sweater over it, it kind of feels like it's new, like it feels like it's a new kind of combination or piece. If I don't normally wear them together, sometimes I'll just go in and like put stuff on together that I think might look terrible or look really weird, and just see like, does it look terrible? And if it does, I feel like, okay, well, that's why I haven't worn this before. But sometimes it actually looks like surprisingly, good, because I think we just get in like a habit of wearing certain things together, or like I do, where I'm like, well, this is the sweater that I wear with this. So I think like mixing and matching is helpful for me. And then sometimes I'll use the Style Book app, which you can kind of like import like your whole closet into it. It's very tedious to do. But you can like kind of like create little collages of your outfits like on each day, and like track how many times you've worn something. So sometimes I'll go through it on there and like combine stuff, and then I don't actually have to like try a bunch of stuff on and take it off. I can kind of like make little outfits. And you can do that in your head. You don't even need like an app to do that. You can just sort of like imagine it. But that for me is kind of helpful to like see on like a screen, like, does this look good together, or like not really? You can't gauge on your body as well, but like just the colors are like the feeling of it. But for me, when I'm really in a rut and I can't shop, my favorite thing to do is to pull out like my favorite thing that I haven't been letting myself wear, and maybe just wearing it a little bit differently. And you can do that with makeup too. Sometimes like I'll just pair different makeup with different clothes. You know, I feel like I get in the habit personally of like, well, I like to wear this blush when I wear this shirt or something like that. And so sometimes even just doing my makeup a little differently, or like, you know, using the kind of like random colored eyeliner that I might have, can help me just feel like things are a little more interesting, even though it's not my clothing specifically.
Mm.
What do
Yeah,
you do?
I do the same stuff. I pull something that I know I wear, and then I try to get out one of those things that are not getting enough use, and then just kind of see if they fit together. Just kind of to jolt myself out of something, and then maybe, you know, I'm not an accessory person. Maybe just actually wearing a necklace with something is helps. Yeah, a belt, a different belt. I have one belt that I use a lot, and then to change it out with another belt, of which I have many, but I never use them. So just to kind of think out of the box, like that's a really good tip, what you said, you know, to just try on something that you think will look terrible. Maybe the best reason for that, or the best effect of that, is that you'll really appreciate what you normally wear because you tried on something that looked terrible together. The stuff that you were tired of doesn't look so bad after all when you try it on again.
Do you find with, you know, I know you mentioned that you do, you know, mostly neutrals with like kind of the pop of red or like the pop of blue. Do you find that that keeps you from being overwhelmed too much? Do you find that you get bored more easily with fewer colors, or does it allow you to be kind of more creative?
I think I get sensory overload really quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
if I have more than two colors on at once, this is an exception, my sweater, but if there are too many patterns, too many things going on, I get it's really, it bothers me. It physically
Mm-hmm.
bothers me. So but that's kind of a strange thing, I guess. So I do like to wear neutral. It calms my senses.
Mm-hmm.
I also like to have a pop of color, even if it's just a lipstick that's bright. Mm. So
Yeah,
I
I think as a bright, like that's such an important thing, like to hear for people to hear you say, because I think, you know, especially bright winter, you know, they tend to worry that they have to like always wear something like this, you know, all the time. But a lot of bright winters wear mostly neutrals, and then they have like that pop of bright lipstick, or they have like, you know, the red purse or something like that. And I think a lot of brights get really, you know, anxious that they have to wear, you know, really intense patterns and colors like on every part of their body, and like they can if they like that, but if they don't, you know, it's totally cool to wear neutrals.
Yes, it is. I think the most helpful tip ever is to get to know the neutrals of your season, because when you nail those and use those, your skin will look clear and your eyes will look bright without a lot of help from your colors, which are wonderful. Your colors are wonderful, but if you're specific about picking your neutrals and getting to learning to know your neutrals, you can perform quite magical things with just that, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you are. But I think maybe it's a kind of well-kept secret that brights can do that, bright spring and bright winter. Mm.
I agree. So I would love to hear about your favorite piece of clothing and your favorite accessory right now, with no overthinking, just kind of
Yes,
your off the cuff answer.
I know. Well, favorite, let's do the favorite accessory. I'm notoriously bad at using accessories, but if I grab something, it's this simple silver necklace. That's my favorite, and it's been for a very, very long time. Um, and my favorite piece of clothing is, like, you have jewelry, I have knitted sweaters. I can never have too many knitted sweaters. So that's well, and it's the cold season right now, so I wear a lot of sweaters, and knitted sweaters is my absolute favorite. It's so cozy, and I like the expression it gives, you know, the feeling that I've knitted it and that I picked the colors, and it's so that's my favorite. What about you?
Well, first I have to ask, did you knit the sweater that you're wearing today?
I did. It's an
Oh,
old.
it's beautiful. That's so impressive.
Thank you. Well, I like to knit. It's a vintage pattern from the 50s, and it's really, but I chose bright winter colors for it, not the orange and browns that was the original.
Originally in the pattern. Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You did a great job with the colors.
Thank you.
Let's see. My favorite piece of clothing is probably this pink sweater because I love pink.
Is it clear? It looks so soft.
It's super soft. Like it feels like, I don't know, cuddling like a bunny rabbit or something. It's like extremely soft. So yeah, I am very sensitive to like fabric textures and things like that. So like if something's itchy, you know, it's going to make me absolutely crazy. So it's very soft.
How are you with tags? Tags in the do they feel abrasive to you?
They don't usually actually bother me on the back of the neck. Where they will bother me is sometimes like in a shirt, if they're kind of by like the hip or like the side, you know, sometimes they'll be in the side. If they're too close fitting, they can like kind of rub on like my side, and that makes me like absolutely nuts. But they don't tend to bother me on the back, but I'm very sensitive to the texture of fabrics. Like I think I probably have a mild wool allergy, unfortunately. So like a lot of stuff, if it has even just a little bit of wool in it, I'll get really itchy. So I like that the sweater does not have any wool. It's very soft, and it's very bubblegum pink, which is one of my favorite colors. And then accessories. I love jewelry, but actually I was looking at my water bottle right here, and it actually might be one of my favorite accessories. I bring it everywhere. And it just makes me happy when I see it. It's like very bright. It's like it coordinates with my outfits, especially in the summer. My daughter will kind of tease me because she's like, your water bottle matches you. But it like encourages me to like drink more water, and it's beautiful. You know, we've all gotten those like you know, ugly water bottles that we like drink out of. And so one day I was like, I want to buy like a really pretty water bottle, like one that I just want to drink out of. And I use it every day and I love it. So I think sometimes like things like that can be a good accessory, something you're carrying around all the time, like your water bottle, or like grocery tote, even like if it's something that you're carrying around like on your person like all the time.
Your phone cover.
Yeah, the phone cover, like it's worth like upgrading it a little bit to where like you like it. And so like my water bottle is one of those things that's like next to me pretty much like day in and day out, and I really enjoy it. So
that's super. I like that idea. That's kind of in the same vein as using the good china. Get a great water bottle.
Yeah, like upgrading to favorites, I think is like one nice thing about having, you know, fewer things, especially in a wardrobe, is that, you know, you're not trying to like spread out, you know, your clothing budget or just like your space in your closet, like among all these different things. So you can kind of like upgrade to things that you really like. And that doesn't even necessarily have to mean that they're expensive, you know, but just like being really mindful about what you're enjoying to like look at and wear is really important to me.
Super. Anyway, so this has been really nice to chat with you. And I know this, but maybe the people watching don't know it. But can you tell us a little bit about where people can reach you?
Of course, yeah.
How can
people can find me on my website, which is just catelinden.com. Instagram, Facebook, people can send me a message, you know, if they want to just ask me a question or ask me about working with me. I do send out a newsletter that you can sign up for on my website, and I will send you all kinds of posts about style and things like that. And I would love to do a conversation like this again, like a very casual chat. I think would be fun.
Yes, me too. I think we'll just gather some questions and then we'll have another chat another time. That's really nice. And I really recommend people to sign up to your newsletter then.
And yours as well. I love reading your posts. They're always so funny. You have such a good sense of humor in your newsletter. So when I see one in my inbox, I get kind of excited when I wake up and see one.
Oh, that's so nice. I'm glad to hear that. Well, thank you, Cate. And well, let's not say goodbye. Let's say until next time, and we might have a chat again another time.
Of course, it was great to talk to you again.
Okay, bye.
Bye.